Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your surreal Deal twin, uh, taking you on this October 26th evening, 2021. A little tradition that we started a few years ago, doing last seasons of some of my favorite television shows. It began with Breaking Bad, along with Robert Sapp, and also I think Chad. It was Chad. Yeah, Chad definitely. No, Breaking Bad was just. Well, no. Chad and Robert Sapp did Breaking Bad with me, as well as Boardwalk Empire, in which we did the last and final seasons of those respective shows, season five of those shows. So kind of a little bit trying to bring back a little tradition as we enter another fifth and final season of one of my favorite shows, one of the better shows on television, HBO's Insecure, season five, episode one, Reunited. Reunited, okay. This was a very good episode. It really they really pulled off what is almost impossible in television to do, and that is you're trying to set the tone for the entire season and close a series at the same time. And that is very difficult to pull off. Because I mean, the first thing naturally is setting the tone, is using the first episode to set the tone for the entire season, and that's what good television does. A great series does. Not too many, there are not too many that can pull it off at a high level, at a very high level. But that's what the great shows do. I really thought that they did it. That they did it nearly to perfection in this episode. It's a very strong episode from start to finish. They go back to college for a 10-year reunion back at Stanford, kind of give you a somewhat of a genesis of their relationships, and you see that we see some of the resent, we see some of the effects from the previous season, in particular with Issa and Molly, with Issa and Molly. Um, now, in this episode, Issa and Molly are kind of cool, but you can tell that relationship is not all the way back. They, before we get into the the robbery scene, which was hilarious. They kind of sit down with each other. They were kind of filling each other out throughout the course of the episode with kind of half smiles, and it was kind of like I don't want to say a boxing match, but just not then neither one of them willing to just go all in as far as, hey, we're back to where we once were. Of course, you remember last season they spent the better part of the season just at each other's throats until they got to the last episode, and they sat down at their favorite Thai shop, and we assuming again that was the last scene of last season, I believe, where they kind of sat down and were, you assumed that they were going to work things out. Well, they worked things out to a point to where they're traveling again with their friends, and they go to this reunion, their college reunion at Stanford, and they are still not where they once were. You can tell that cordial, somewhat cool, but still not where they once were. And I don't, I'm not sure that they'll ever get back to where they once were. I think you're setting up. If you're a fan of this show, if you're a fan of the relationships, of the happy times, I think that this season is setting up for a lot of disappointment. To be honest with you, and I would be curious to see if there are any, bright spots or semi-happy endings. I really do, because I really think there's going to be a lot of people, Insecure fans. Again, the quality of the acting, storytelling will be great, but I just don't see I don't see a lot of happy endings for this particular season, and that's including the relationship between Molly and Issa. To be honest with you, now we can go to the scene where they get robbed by by this girl named Cheyenne, who sneaks her way into the homecoming, so to speak. or into not the homecoming, but into the 10-year reunion. Of course, Issa was invited to kind of promote her small business. Um, and the girl, that was a red flag to begin with. The girl sneaking her way into it, sneaking her way into it. So they kind of, they kind of overlooked that. All the friends kind of overlooked that because she was the party girl. She was the turn up girl and the good time at the the life of the party back in their college days. So they overlooked that fact and ended up getting robbed by this girl as she leads them off to this, assuming another party that was off the campus. And Issa and Molly have a laugh as they tell Kelly and Tiffany that they've been robbed at the liquor store. But even that, they laughed out loud. But even that, I still not buying. Um, Still not buying that this friendship is going to get back to where it was. This was a very introspective episode. Um, the thing that makes great television is when you can look at it and say, "Hey, I can relate to that," or "I've had these feelings before." And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like I didn't thought much about reunions and college reunions, but I'm thinking to myself, coming up 2022 is gonna be my personal 20th year reunion from Temple University, which is scary to say the least. And for them, they're at the point, getting back to the show, as I take a selfish moment for a second. For them, they're at the point in their lives where, especially Issa, is like, what, where, have I lived up to my expectations? What am I doing in my life? What direction am I going in? Um, Her small business is not going great. It's okay. It's not setting the world on fire. Her relationship with Lawrence, and we'll get to that, is, complicated to say the least with everything with their particular situation. And she looks around, Kelly's very successful and living her best life. We'll get to Kelly. Tiffany's, despite the postpartum depression, still has a husband and is a mother. Um, and Molly, for all her faults, is a highly successful lawyer, even though she's coming out of a relationship and dealing with her own issues. But I think Issa kind of feels like she's at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to her friends, as far as just whether it's career, having a not having a mate, and all around. And she again, and we'll talk about this when we get to our episode MVP. I'm probably giving it away a little bit, but Issa Rae was tremendous in this episode. She was spectacular in terms of her acting and just being able to go from 0 to 60, from comedic to drama to dramatic. It's really remarkable. I don't again. She deserves every penny of that 9-figure deal that she recently signed. Recently signed with, I believe, I don't know, I think it was with HBO, either HBO or Netflix. But she's a tremendous talent, and we definitely will miss this show. But let's skip this. But yeah, it was a very introspective episode, in particular to for Issa, in terms of where she's at in her life. Now we just talked about Molly and Issa, and I'm not sold on that relationship becoming strong again. How about Kelly? So throughout the course of this episode, Kelly is normally the comedic, you know, when they want to do some serious comedy, some real comedy, they normally go in the direction of Kelly. Kelly's my favorite character on the show. The actress is great. That plays her. And she's one of the producers on the show and writers on the show as well. So they get to the school, and Kelly doesn't have an ID from the school because apparently they think that she died. They think that she died. So they play this up there over the course of the episode that Kelly's dead. They do kind of like a mock. Her friends kind of do like a mock eulogy. I believe it was at a IHOP or a Denny's at a breakfast. Blow a candle out. I actually thought for a split second, I actually thought that she was dead in real time. Like I actually thought that they were doing a flash forward or something because they were very convincing with the eulogy, but it turns out, she was sitting right there, with tears in her eyes. But listen, these writers are smart. This was a theme throughout the course of the episode in regards to Kelly. It might be a wrap for Kelly as far as it just dying. Or I could see them possibly killing her at the end of the season. I mean, I get it, that sounds crazy, but I just don't think this is not. There's a lot of comedic things that they've done with Kelly over the course of the first four seasons. Having somebody, having a situation where you you go back to your school and they think you're dead. I don't think that's just something you just toss in just because. And then you have this, and this is one of my favorite scenes when Kelly is doing her podcast, and she basically says, what would you do if you only had a certain amount of time to live? What was your life? Looking back on your life, what do any regrets, things of that nature. I, I'm I'm telling you, again, this is going out on a limb, making a major prediction here. I think it might be a wrap for Kelly. I would not be surprised if they killed her character off. I don't know how they would pull it off. They have a bunch of brilliant writers and and with the showrunners and what have you, but I just don't think that's something you just bring up and without going back to it. Definitely, I definitely could see some. I definitely think could be a situation where there's some foreshadowing in terms of what her future could be on in this season. Of course, this is the last season of the show, so I mean, it kind of would make sense if they did kill her, and in real life, people die. So it's not going. You know, it's not a major stretch. I mean, I know it's not a major stretch to say that Kelly could possibly go. But again, the young lady that plays Kelly is hilarious. Again, my favorite character on the show, but I think it could be a wrap for her in this season. We get to Issa and Lawrence. This was, we on the wire on Snowfall. We had an award called the Chardine Award for best performance by an actor, actress, or best performance in the scene. This was without question that scene. Um, Issa Rae and Lawrence, Jay Ellis, were just like they. I mean, again, this is acting. This is high level acting, to say the least. First of all, setting up the scene. So Issa comes back from the trip, um, meets Lawrence at the airport. Of course, coming off last season, we know Lawrence got Condola pregnant. We assuming that she kept the baby, gave him the choice whether or not how involved he could be in the child's life, and knowing Lawrence being a good dude, he's gonna want to be in that kid's life. And they kiss and they talk. Issa's kind of and you can kind of see. I watched it twice, so you can kind of see some a build up because she was kind of quiet in the car. He's doing all the talking about going to there. What do you want to eat, so on and so on. They get off the car, and Issa is like, basically, I did a lot of thinking, and you know, basically, I can't do this. And again, there was not a lot of dialogue in that scene. It was all like 95% body language. You see Issa Rae's Issa's um, tears, eyes well up, but no tears fall, which I thought was brilliant by Issa Rae. And it was easily the best scene of the whole show, easily. And again, I thought both of those actors were spectacular. I mean, and Jay Ellis, just how they played off each other. Again, and we've heard me discuss this with Rob Sapp on The Wire. Some of the best acting is what is not said, and that's when you really see, and that's when you can really tell the skill set of an actor or actress in terms of what when they're not saying anything. Where you could just read the eyes, the body language, the facial expressions, and the body language and facial expressions said it all. That the relationship could not be, at least up until this point. Who knows what happens the rest over the course of the rest of the season? But at that point, that relationship could not be rectified, or this could not go on like this. And again, I thought again Issa Rae was, just again just a next level performance in that particular scene. Both actors were. So again, I listen. I think that again, I can't see Lawrence not being in that kid's life. I just can't see it. I don't see it. You want to call me a Lawrence Stan? I don't think I'm a Lawrence Stan. I just think that I think he's going to do I think he's more than likely he's going to do the right thing. Um, because of course, we know over the course of 4 seasons he's had a few fuck ups to say the least. Eh, so listen. I don't think they're going to end up. I don't see them being together, ending up together. I think that would be too. I really think that Issa Rae is going, along with the other showrunners, are going into you know dark territory with how this thing is going to end. Like I don't see too many happy endings. I mean, look at the state of these characters. You have, I mean, the happiest of these characters in terms of the most stable of these characters are Tiffany and her husband. And remember, they're coming off postpartum. They're coming off a situation where Tiffany, at the end of last season, disappeared and went into a hotel. Went missing for an entire day because of the postpartum depression following the birth of her child. They're the most stable out of the group. So I think they're going to see. I think they're going. It's going to be a lot of like disappointment. Of course, you're going to have moments of comedy and romance and things of that nature that come with the show. But I think that these characters, and I'm talking, Tiffany, her husband, Issa, Kelly, Molly. Those are the four main ones, along with Lawrence. I think they're all going in their separate directions. To be honest with you, I think they're all going in their separate directions, and I think that will be ultimately the kind of like how this thing ends up. Again, phenomenal first episode. I love the first episode. Set a lot of things up. You already heard my prediction in terms of Kelly. I think they're going to kill Kelly's character off. Again, it might be a stretch, but I don't think you play with death lightly, even from a comedic standpoint. If you're not going to do something with it in regards to her character, MVP without question was Issa Rae, being the creator of the show, and then her acting performance from start to finish. Those mirror scenes that she does. I mean, that is, how hard that is to do. Like I've always liked the mirror. I've always liked the mirror scenes, but she's going back to her college self 10 years ago, and she plays up the character like with the twist and the braces and the whole nine. I mean, that is hard as shit to pull off and to be convincing, and she's 1,000% convincing. Looking forward to this season. We will certainly miss this show when it goes off, but I'm definitely looking forward to a big time season coming off what I thought season 4 was their strongest season. So that's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, season 5, episode 1 of of the HBO hit series Insecure. I will see you next time.